Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Book of the Week show here for, I'd say, the week of March 15th, 2024. That's when we're recording because I'm here with my man, Gray. What up, Gray?
What up, Jim? How are you feeling? Are you Genki?
I am so Genki. I'm not Genki. I'm usually Genki about halfway through when me and you record. So you get back to me.
I know why you're not Genki. It was a salmon, Jim, wasn't it? The salmon. Come on.
I had some problems this week with eating bad fish and all sorts of crazy stuff. But this week wasn't great. You had a lot of books come out. Some of them not as good as others. Obviously, this show we're trying to focus on the positive and focus on the good stuff. And we have 5. I can't tell what we usually have. But I think that when we first did the show together, I think we had a lot of books that time.
It feels like it, yeah.
A little less. And even when I asked you, and I said, we're recording this a day earlier, but not $1 short, I think, hopefully. But when I said, do you want to do this? And you're like, well, I only have a couple books. I'm like, you have more than me. so here we are. We have 5 books. At least everything is represented. Maybe, but yeah, some of these are a little sus. But as we say before we get into this, please let us know what your favorite books were. And just because they're not on our list doesn't mean that we hated them. There might be some that just didn't hit with us as much, or, lo and behold, we haven't gotten to or don't read. So when you end up suggesting some things, people end up, maybe seeing some stuff that they didn't know came out or stuff they weren't aware of. There's one book that you have on the list, and I'm so much fighting against giving it a try, but I might have to, because I think this is the second time you have put it on the list. And in this, there are some kind of usual suspects as well. Though there's a book when we get to it, I'm going to ask you, because you didn't have it on your list, and a lot of people are telling me that they don't like it as much, but that's going to be in a bit, because we're going to start with DC Comics. We have one issue on DC Comics. It is Green Lantern number 9, written by Jeremy Adams with Sermonico on art. You also have a backup of Sam Humphries and Yasmin Flores Montanez, but Sam Humphries I will not put against Jeremy Adams, because Jeremy Adams is really good. Sam Humphries not my favorite guy, but you do get a Jessica Cruz backup. Did you read this issue at all?
I haven't read it yet, no. And it's lapsed with me, Jim, because I really enjoyed the last issue. Issue 8 was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think people will like this. Here is the thing, though. When I'm going to be doing our DC Comics podcast tomorrow night with my man Eric Shea. When I go to do Eric Shea, he's going to be, I don't know how he's going to take this. Here's what happens. We have that weird idea in the Green Lantern book. Hal Jordan, he kind of has a ring that he made with a combination of his own willpower after getting zapped by some Manhunter tech. He never really explained much of it, and it hasn't really been able to do that much because he is confined to Earth. While we know that the United Planets is kind of sus. They're doing some weird things, and Hal's desperately trying to get off planet, thinking he has to warn them about what seems to be what they're actually doing themselves. But in this issue, we do end up getting some cool things where Hal does leave Earth. I don't want to spoil too much, but the way that it happens, and it was alluded to when you had Hal go and talk to Madame Xanadu, said, go to that area where there was that green and you kind of got a spike on your ring. And he goes there and you get Tom from back in the day that, quote unquote, and I know this isn't a term that a lot of people would like, that pie face from back in the day, who actually brings up Millennium, the event, which works because then he was a new Guardian. But all this is that the Guardians set up a failsafe for the Earth Lanterns, which I think is kind of cool, because the idea where a lot of Green Lantern fans will joke, and everybody will joke, that there's too many Earth Lanterns. Oh my God, we have so many Earth Lanterns. And so a lot of times what a writer will do will kind of, get these out of the way, or will focus on that. Well, it looks like Jeremy Adams might actually even make a separate core with just the Earth Lanterns, the way this sets up in this issue, but it also allows Hal to actually get a legitimate Green Lantern ring, but not seemingly connected to the United Planets and their battery, because there's an own battery on Earth. I don't know how people are going to take it that are into the continuity. That's why I brought up Eric. Eric may have a big problem with this, but if you just want to have fun, and the thing is, you end up where there's a lot of books. We'll talk about one in just a minute, where you're setting up obstacles for superheroes from the get-go.
Yeah.
And they do that a lot with the Green Lantern. The lights out. Oh, man, we can't. It's like having a flashback. Oh, the Speed Force is wonky. Like, you kind of just want the heroes to be able to do their thing, right?
Jim, I'm just paging through now, Green Lantern, and I've got to say, the art is gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks great.
I can't pronounce the artist's name. How
Sir
about
Monaco.
you?
It's
Okay, thank you.
I actually talked to Sir Monaco on the telephone once. It was the craziest thing because I was talking to Bruno Redondo, and he was having dinner with Sir Monaco. And it's funny. It's not his real name. I don't even know if that's even like a hot take. Like, oh my God.
Like a pen name or something.
Yeah. And he ended up telling me his real name, but he told me I wasn't allowed. I'm sure you could look it up now. But he ended up like kind of playing this game. Like, I'll tell you, because I was just joking around with him, but you can't tell anybody or I'll come and kill you. And then I'm like, okay. And I forgot immediately. I wish I could remember. It wasn't
Batman, was it?
No, it was not. It was Gray. I think it was like Wagasashi's Tea House. I don't know what kind of name that was. It was you.
I wish I could draw like him. I'll tell you that.
He's so good. And yeah, so with that, you have a bunch of spread pages and things like that. And like I said, the idea of hindering and hampering your heroes, especially in this book where you have Hal Jordan in what should be, in this dawn of DC, let's get going. And even so, you have Jeremy Adams, who's such a good writer that people are still like, hey, I love this book. Hal hasn't done much because he's been stuck on Earth. He has a wonky ring. Well, now it seems like, boom, we're going to go. And then he immediately goes off into space and ends up getting captured. But then by the end, he ends up getting uncaptured. He gets saved. But there were people I talked to that don't like the idea that Jo Mullins is in the book at the end, but she has been in the backup. She was in the backup with Kyle Rayner. She is a Lantern. And I know the idea that it might not be your favorite. You may hate her. She's still a Lantern, right? I don't necessarily, actually, I like most of the Lanterns. It's weird. I would say my least favorite Earth Lantern, people get mad, it might be Hal. Just because you get him so much. I love Guy Gardner.
I can see that.
But I love Jessica Cruz. I love, Simon Baz. I love all of them.
Guy Gardner's my favorite, Jim.
He's so good. Yeah, he's off. He's off hunting down Lobo, which I'll tell you on the podcast. I said when that came up, I think this is a dupe. I don't even think that's a real deal. I think that the United Planets are doing some weird, wacky things to separate the Earthlanders. But besides, I don't hate any Lantern. So when you get Jo Mullins, it also means you're going to get all the rest or a bunch of them. So I'm all for it. I don't mind. I want to have this kind of side own Earth core to try to take it to the United Planets. I think that's a cool idea. And I want to see more Guy. I want to see more Kyle, Simon. And you do get Jessica in the backup. Sam Humphries, who did the Green Lanterns book. And when he did that, he was praised, and rightly so at one point. He really did develop in the anxiety that Jessica had and really worked it in a way to make it work for the Green Lantern stuff. But he goes back to the well all the time. And here he does it again, where it feels like when he wrote this, because he hasn't done Jessica in so long that he thinks it's been a day since then. And it just feels off. It doesn't feel off, especially with what we've seen. Okay. And even a lot of people thought it was kind of cool with the Yellow Lantern when she became the Yellow Lantern in that one annual. And they have like a footnote here, a little editor's note of, and it's her saying it. So it's more of a footnote kind of deal of like, oh, that was a mistake. I'm like, no, it's kind of neat. A lot of people liked it. And a lot of people wanted to stick. But by the end of this, you end up getting the Earth Lanterns kind of coming together and all that. And also in the way that the United Planets seems to be the ones that are behind switching the colors while you're a Green Lantern, then you're a Yellow Lantern, you get a Lantern, and that was part of the idea that maybe it wasn't Yellow Lanterns that killed Kilowog when you had that on Korgar. So we're going to figure some things out. But this is the issue I thought really kicked in and now we're getting the book that we kind of were promised at the beginning. So
you convinced me, Jim. I'm going to read this after we finish the show.
And I'm telling you, when I think of the best of too, just to let people know, when I think of it, and I have some things I've already reviewed and things like that, I kind of give the thing to be in the best of, it should be an 8 or above. You know what I mean? Like a score, an 8 out of 10 or above. You can't start putting 6s and things like that. But I have a feeling that I think I'm going to give this Green Lantern, little spoiler for our podcast, probably a 9. I liked it that much. I think Eric's going to give it a...
That must be good then.
I think Eric's going to give it a 5. That's what
really?
I really do. I think that it's the way that it's described and the things are kind of like... But I give Jeremy Adams credit. While some of the things kind of you have to kind of brush aside or go forward, he did some work to try to make it make sense. And he got put in a weird position. I mean, that whole thing with the United Planets, you can't leave Earth, you really get your hands tied. And I think he does a good job of trying to figure out, unlike, like, say, Leah Williams, who was told you could do anything with and she did. That's the problem. She
Pretty
did
much,
what they told her. She couldn't know. All of a sudden, you're punching, gates and doing your mind. It drives me nuts. But yeah, I really liked it. So I think everybody should check it out. But we'll move on to Marvel. We have 2 Marvel books, one that I put on and one that you put on. I'm glad because I keep forgetting about it. But we'll go with the one that you put on because I think we have to give it a little shout out. And it's Symbiote Spider-Man 2099 #1, written by Peter David and art by Roger Antonio. And I keep forgetting that it's Peter David. I read it. I forgot. I'm going through my list. And every time I see the 2099 stuff, I think Steve Orlando now. But I think that Peter David needs the support, obviously. He is still hurting. This might be something, and probably was something he had already written, because I'm on his GoFundMe. I was going to say Kickstarter.
Okay.
GoFundMe, and you get updates from his wife. And it's touch and go at points. And it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, like MC Scat Cat. And it doesn't seem like he's actually writing. So I hope that he gets back, because when he writes these things, they're so good, right? And you talk about this because this was your pick.
Well, it was thanks to you. You shouted it out. You said, Peter David's done this issue, so I'll have a look. It's an issue 1. As we talked about before, I don't know the character beyond the name, Miguel O'Hara. I've never really read it before, but to jump into this issue, read it as a kind of just not a one and done, but, an opening to a new arc. It's so much fun, Jim. It's so much better than the regular Zeb Wells, main title. And the art, I don't know this artist. Is it Roger Antonio?
Pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's at times the faces are a little bit funny, but I kind of like it. There's a bit of a manga expression to the faces at times. If that makes sense.
And the thing, me and you both have the same deal, and I agree. And again, I didn't have this on my show of, hey, let's look forward to what's coming out this week, the things that I'm anticipating. Because again, I keep seeing that 2099, and I think that it's Steve Orlando because all the stuff. And I hope that people, I think they might be the same way, a lot of people, but I hope they're not, because again, Peter David, and I'll give a shout out to Common Sense, who brought it up, because he said, Symbiote Spider-Man 2099, cool, but Peter David, he should get the support. And I agree, because when we read it, me and you, neither of us have a lot of Spider-Man 2099 background. That's right. We still liked it.
Still really enjoyed it, which is a great sign.
It was fun. And in this, you get the Punisher 2099. I don't know anything about that character either.
I don't know. When he turned up, it really surprised me. And it's
what I mean?
They don't hold back in this issue, Jim, by the way. I just checked. It's rated teen, but there are some scenes in here which will surprise people.
Yeah, and there's even the point where if you want to show that the symbiote, and it's almost like a 2099 Carnage kind of play with this one guy, if you want to show that he's pretty bad butt, you have him beat the crap out of the Punisher, which he does, and then you end up even Spider-Man getting it. And I thought it was cool, and I didn't feel lost. The only thing that I thought, because I ended up talking about this with Wes a couple days ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the only thing that I thought was I kept getting this idea of oh man, I wish I knew more 2099 stuff, because I think it's even better. I thought I'm really enjoying it. But it might be even better if I knew.
Well, that's cool if it makes you want to, read some of the back issue stuff. Yeah.
And they even gave a deal, and I think this story happens in this weird little place after, I think it's Spider-Man 2099 #43. It's in the issue. It says.
You're right. Yeah.
I actually thought, I might go back and read, because everything that's happening was pretty cool. It was pretty neat, and it was well played, so you kind of knew what was going on. So
Jim, I just seen a comment about exactly that point, and it says, even though the issue says it continues after the issue 43. It's actually Peter David's run, issue 44, and it picks up right after that issue. So, nice one.
Yeah, so that's what I want to. I might go back and check it out a little if I have.
That's back in the 90s as well, apparently, that run. I didn't know it. I missed it the first time round.
And it's a shame that Peter David ended up having all those medical problems because, boy, some of the stuff that he was doing was the best stuff.
He's a good writer.
At Marvel,
really good writer.
And it's weird. Now we don't know what will happen, but when he was doing this, like, consistently, really, really good books, like, why weren't they putting him on bigger things? I mean, maybe it's something that he enjoyed doing these, hey, let's dip our toe back in, this run and that run. But, boy, he should have been like, I'd read a Spider-Man by him way before Zeb Wells.
100%, right? Me too.
Yeah, I mean, it would be so much better. And Zeb Wells, and you'll notice everybody, Amazing Spider-Man. The funny thing is, Amazing Spider-Man, so much better than the Gang War. And it's still not making our list. It's not making our list.
It isn't. It was boring. It was boring for me.
That, and also got Jackpot. And, oh, God. But with that, yeah, I think everybody should check it out. And again, if you are a comic fan and you are somebody who liked anything by Peter David, you should go and get that just for the idea of supporting him and what he's doing. So the other one I have, you didn't put it on your list, but I have Ultimate Black Panther #2. Written by Brian Hill with art by Stefano Caselli. If you don't like this, I think that it's because it is kind of just a basic Black Panther book. There's not much going on yet. I actually like it because I've been wanting to read a decent Black Panther book, so I have it on, but I recognize the idea.
There's nothing wrong with that, Jim, either. A basic Black Panther story. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, because right now, Eve Ewing's her run is canceled. I think next week is the last issue again. She's going to be on the X books, but that's scary. But even so, the idea of John Ridley, every time there's a Black Panther deal, I try. I ended up reading 2 issues of Eve Ewing, bailed. Sully was liking it for a while. When John Ridley, I actually read, I think, 4 issues, and then I was like, it's boring because everybody wants to get so political and that sort of thing. And then Ta-Nehisi Coates, I don't even know what the hell he was doing. We were in space. We're there at the Galactic Empire Wakanda, and I threw my hands up and stopped there. So this Ultimate deal, and it's no, crazy thing to say. Most people are liking the Ultimate Spider-Man. Then less people are liking, but still liking the Ultimate Black Panther. And then we get, unfortunately, me, you, and a couple people, it seems, liking the Ultimate X-Men. But I'll tell you right now, I like the Ultimate X-Men more than I like Ultimate Black Panther, but I still like it. And I think that at this point with 3 books, I want to read them all to kind of get the big scope of things. But in this issue, you end up getting the idea there's a mole. A lot of people are telling me they think it's Shuri. I think it's Okoye. If it's Shuri, I'll flip out because I love Shuri. But again, if it's Shuri, I think it'll be the idea of, oh, listen, I'm the mole because I've been doing this behind it. Like, who knows how it would play out. But in this issue, the big thing is at the very end, he ends up meeting Storm. And in that, you had the Voodoo Khan, pretty much the soothsayers, the oracles. They ended up having the prophecy that he will have a kid. And it kind of seems like very much on the nose that it'll be with Storm. So you have that by the end. You have some action. I did see some people saying that they didn't like it. Like, oh man, this doesn't feel like Black Panther. He did this. That's not really Black Panther. And you always have to remember this is the Ultimate Universe. And it's
meant to be a bit different, isn't it? It's supposed to be.
And this book, this is the thing. And I even said to a bunch of people, the idea that the Ultimate X-Men is so different is even more glaring because Black Panther and even Spider-Man a bit, they're so what people wanted.
They're playing it safe, aren't they, Jim? Yeah, those 2.
So Peach Momoko trying to do something different. Though again, everybody can like or hate what they want. But yeah, this Ultimate, I'll tell you though, this Ultimate Black Panther has to start doing a little more per issue and has to start doing things like not just presenting a mystery, because presenting a mystery of a mole only 2 issues in, don't know that many people. And I think the idea of, and the only way I can explain it is you have a mystery in a book that we don't even know what the characters are in this universe because they're different. So I can't sit there and say, oh, it can't be Shuri because I don't know. This Shuri could have some crazy things going on, or Okoye, or somebody we haven't seen yet. So I do want to see, though. I don't think Shuri would have any hand in, killing her father. It'd be very odd. But again, this could be a power-hungry Shuri who wants to do that. I don't know, because we don't know the lay of the land, and he's got to kind of get with that. But I still thought it looked good, and I'm still excited about these. And it's my Black Panther book. I'm not reading the e-viewing, and that actually was canceled. So I have that. But that's the two at Marvel.
Second half of the book was good. I like the action, but there was a little bit too much dialogue talking the first half.
I had a lot of people said that, and I can't say anything bad. I'm telling you, I'm on the cusp.
Nothing wrong with that, by the way. That's why it's not on my list. That's all.
Next month, though, if it doesn't start to pick up, it's going to start to fall out of that range.
And what do you think about the design? His helmet showing his lips, his mouth.
We talked about that.
It's unusual.
I don't like it. It
it's a bit
makes
weird.
me. I don't know. It throws me off. Like it looks like a crab or something. I don't know.
Like a Thundercat. Thundercat. Oh.
The funny thing is, and there's another book that didn't make the list. When he had the Panther ship that came, so many people seem to not like that. I liked it. I was like, man, it looks like a Beast Wars thing. I'm like, that's pretty cool. But people are like, that doesn't look like anything that he would go. I'm like, but it's different. They've been sequestered in. I get the idea in that was that Shuri, she's just bored because they're not really doing much while they were hidden. So she was just making stuff up.
I'm liking Khonshu and Ra in this. I'm liking their deal.
Yeah. And
it's intriguing.
I want to see it expand more, and I want to see more story per issue. And hopefully that's what starts happening. Like when you read the Ultimate Spider-Man, it really feels at points like sometimes you're like, man, we got a lot and you were doing this. It feels like a bigger issue. And then you get these others and they do feel a little smaller, but we'll see. We'll see. And I hope it does, even if it maintains what it is, but it needs to start doing something a little more. It might fall off the deal. And I think that most people are buying that, but also just like they only want the Spider-Man. So if things start going south, they'll just bail on them. But we'll go to the indie stuff. And these are, well, I do like the one, but the one here is all you. It is one hand number 2. Do you have the credits, or you want me to give the credits? Or
I do, yeah.
Okay, you go the credits.
Written by Jim's favorite writer, Ram V. Here we go again, Ram V. And we got Lawrence Campbell on art, Jim, who I got mixed up. I thought it was Aaron Campbell who's doing the Hellblazer with Cy Spurrier, but it's not. So, but the art is good. It's dark. It's gritty. It's basically pulp detective noir, but I'm liking the dialogue. That's what stood out for me so far, because Ram V can be a little bit, purple prosy, can't he? As an understatement, but this is coming down as a good mystery, and I'm preferring this to the oh my god, I forgot the name now. I'm blanking on
the Dan Waters book.
That's it. The Dan Waters
book.
One, yeah.
I was just actually looking it up because I actually was thinking
the Six Fingers, is it? Six Fingers.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, that was a weird play anyway, right? To have that book come out at the same time and be like the other side of the thing, but
doing the Rashomon thing, different point of view is weird. They should have brought that up later if they're going to do that, not concurrently for me.
Exactly, like wait till there's a reveal to then have that with it and stuff. That was a weird play, but those guys seem to work together a lot because he's in the backups of Detective a lot of times too. But yeah, Ram V, not my favorite guy, but I did like Layla Starr. So I keep saying, I think that when we talked about, I think we did talk about this the last time. And I'm like, I'm going to read it. I never did. So I got to get to it. It's weird. I don't like Ram V's writing, but I recognize that he's a smart guy. And when he's inspired, he's writing a character that fits it. It's good.
It's a quick read as well, Jim. It's not too verbose. You're not thinking, oh my God, you get through the pages.
You're singing my song. I follow him on Twitter, and I always go and check out his Twitter. Sometimes it drives me nuts, but he likes to get on soapboxes about what he thinks writing is, and sometimes I'm like, that's
he
weird.
Sure does, doesn't he? But he's only writing for himself.
Yeah, that's
right.
it. And that when he said that was a direct argument with me. Like he was yelling. Oh yeah, he was yelling at me because he ended up. The thing is, it's like one of those where he's a classy guy. He's not going to call anybody out, by name on social media.
No.
But he starts mentioning things. He's like, I just read this review for Detective Comics. And I'm like, this sounds very familiar because he's directly quoting something I wrote. And I'm like, oh, yeah, he's talking about me. So I went and looked. I'm like, he got mad because at the beginning of this review, I said, I don't know why this was so triggering to him. I said, you know what? I like some things that Ram V has done, and I don't like some things Ram V has done. Almost just trying to tell people that I do like him enough at just some things I don't like, some things I do, so that it's like an even keel deal. Somehow he took that as I was telling him to write one way, that I was telling him he should only write the things that I liked, which was Layla Starr and some of the Justice League Dark stuff. And but that wasn't what I said. Then he started going on and on about, I said that, this was early in the Detective Comics. I said, we need more story. He's giving us more mood. And we did. Oh man, he was ripping me apart, but not by name. So then I ended up kind of getting involved. I'm like, I think I know whose review you are talking about. And I'm like, I said, maybe, you should listen to some people who say and, write so that it can actually do better or whatever. And that's when he's like, I don't write for anybody but me. I don't care about the readers or the fans. I'm like, it's a weird take. Like, it's a weird take to actually say. Like, maybe you think that, but it's odd. But that was his play. And then later he ended up sending me like a DM, thank me for the review. He's very nice. I mean, he said, like, I'd never spell out it was you. I said, I know. I kind of let the cat out of the bag myself by joining in. But that's I ended up getting a fight with Mikkel Yanine and Bengal this last 2 weeks. I get fights with a lot of people.
Fights with people.
But at the end, I just make jokes. And usually, like even that, I ended up talking with Michael Yanine and DMs. Then we were laughing about stuff because I made jokes. That's all you have to do when people throw shade at you. But yeah, the one hand we're talking about. Like I said, I think that maybe I should read it and check it out, only because I think I do like his stuff better when it's just his own.
If you do, Jim, let me know what you think, especially the art, because it is a very indie style, to be fair. But some of these storytelling is very well done, where there's like just, almost no words in some of the panels. It's visual storytelling. I mean, I'm enjoying that side of it too.
See, and like some people will tell me, and I mean like Eric or, like, hey, you should read this. I don't listen to them, but I do listen to you and Sully, and both I think you and Sully, even though I think Sully didn't like this or love this one issue. So it's weird. I'll have to look, but I do trust you guys, and I do like your positive spin on things. That's what you have. But we'll go to the last book. We only have 5 books. This is the big one, and it always is when it comes out. But I don't know. People are getting worried because it is Transformers. I think people could have guessed that. Anyway, it's Transformers number 6, written in art by Daniel Warren Johnson. It's his last issue of art. And he really went for it in this one. It looks great. And I did have some people this week again tell me they don't like his style, which amazes me.
I know, I hear that quite often. Yeah.
It's because it's kind of like there's a lot going on, and it ends up being like very organic at points, and it's very detailed, but I'd rather have that than not detailed.
Yeah.
But in this, yeah, and I'll tell you too, at this, I hope that some of the people who complained about the first issue of Transformers somehow are here for issue 6, because the biggest complaint I saw for issue number 1, why do we have humans involved? Why are there humans?
I know, right? Where's the Transformers?
Yeah, we want more Transformers. Humans.
It's set up. It's
so much set up in this issue.
Nothing
it all
wrong with
hits.
that. Nothing wrong with that, yeah.
I mean, you have the characters where you see that the Autobots, first off, are going to, they're starting to kind of fight back and win because of them being nice to the humans. And you get Sparky, who ends up, I said when I was talking about this again with Wes, I said, I can't tell you how Optimus Prime comes back, but I love that he did. Like, I'm like, if you put a gun to my head and said, you explain how him going into the...
I wanted to ask you this exact question, Jim, because without giving spoilers away, it's a crazy, weird scene, but I kind of love it as well.
It's, again, I think it's very much like what I said earlier with the Green Lantern book. Like, you can sit there and pick at it. You could say that doesn't make sense. But when it's so big and cool and awesome, just kind of try to make it make sense. Like, it's comics.
Just let it go.
It's like the idea when I'm watching back in the day, New Hope, you could sit there and like, well, this and that, but I was loving it. So you don't do that. It's when the stuff isn't so good that you really realize and like, ooh, like, why would you do that? But this is awesome. And even that, it ends up where it's going to be crazy because Spike comes out of his coma at the end. I'll spoil that. But in that too, though, you have the Devastator going. And I think that one panel, and I've talked to a bunch of people now. So people have just like, oh my God, did you read Transformers? I'm like, yeah. And right away, oh my God, how about that one panel where the Devastator's reaching in to try to grab him, and it's like everything's huge and just things are falling apart there at the art. It's so good. And then you get
brilliant.
Like so many wrestling moves that I didn't think I'd see going on. I know that we've had them, but you have a lot of things going on.
I don't remember there being big wrestling smackdowns in the Transformers cartoon series.
There is now. and again, if they ever animate it based on this, boy, it's going to be
That's
crazy.
That's all Daniel Warren Johnson, isn't it? It's all coming from him.
It's the power bomb stuff. So I'm worried that now he's still going to be writing, but we'll see how the art is coming up. But boy, for the end of an arc and the end of his, writing, and he'll be writing it still. But I hear that that's coming to an end too, and then there's going to be trouble, unfortunately.
Incredible action scenes. Jim, I've got to ask you, because you were shouting out Sully before, what do you think of all the onomatopoeia, the sound effects, the lettering? That he does that himself, doesn't he? He's doing all that, I think.
It looks so good.
It's amazing.
And it works out. It works so well. Now, as a little shout out, and I did put it on some things, the last issue of The Walking Dead Deluxe, they actually have little bites, these little kind of cartoony things at the end. And Abraham, the one character in it, actually realizes he's in a comic book and he could use the onomatopoeia to kill a bunch of zombies. So he starts doing crazy stuff.
That sounds cool.
It's so cool. But yeah, in this, it's like there's so much going on. There is a panel, too, where, again, I don't want to spoil too much, but you end up where Devastator, he kind of lands on somebody, then a girl, as you know, that goes. The first time I looked at it, I didn't get everything that was going on, because when I went back and read it again, I'm like, holy crap, this is so detailed. And when you look at it, and then you look at the other page and you look at the panel after, it all works out. The choreography is almost perfect. The way that things were and how they ended up resulting in what happened. And you get some big moments for the Transformers, but you get some big moments really big moments for the humans.
I love the scene where she tries to fire the gun. It's a giant gun for her. How good is that, Jim?
When you see before that, you end up where Cliffjumper gets in the front and says, stay back, I'll protect you, which again, that's heroic. Everything in this, that's the best thing. The heroes are heroes, right?
Yes.
And the villains are just awful, awful villains. And so it works. There's nothing else in it but heroes against the villains. And even at the end, where you get, again, I don't want to spoil too much, but the idea of, come on, we could have done this together. Like, you didn't have to be bad. Like, I wanted us to kind of, and it all works out. And you're like, holy crap. But when you end up having Carly go and she sees the gun, and you see her when Cliffjumper jumps in front, she's running to that gun. Before she even got, I'm like, how are you going to pick up that gun? I started screaming. I'm like, what are you doing with that gun? Because she's running towards it. I'm like, what are you going to do with that? Oh, it's so good. It is one of the things that I'll say this, and it may sound like over the top. It may seem overblown, but I've had people tell me as well, like, that book really does, like, you read it and like, okay, all the crap that I read this week, it didn't matter. And then afterwards, I get angry because I think to myself, it's so easy. Like, it seems so easy to just write a good book where you get fired up, because I'm getting fired up now.
It's a book that makes you want to read it again, Jim, doesn't it? Which you were saying already. I think you get more out of it the second or even the third time, because there's so much going on.
And you could, now unfortunately, again, it's the West Daniel Warren Johnson. I think some people probably do the idea they read it, and then they just go through and look at it without even reading just looking at it again, because there's so many little things.
Do you know who's up next for writing all the art? Do you know?
It's him writing for the next bunch, but it's I can't
remember. Yeah,
I know it's an artist that I don't love, but I think the style might fit. So it'll be one of those. I wish I could remember.
It's Jorge Corona.
Yeah, Jorge Corona.
There
who
we
ended
go.
up doing, I think, did some of the Batgirl stuff.
I'm hoping it's going to be good. It could be.
Yeah, I hope it is. And I think that the idea of having this, they're taking good care. Now, a lot of people will say, well, Jim, they just got Kelly Thompson, so maybe they're not. But that's just, a mini. But I think in this, though, if you're going to, it's going to be tough to replace Daniel Warren Johnson, but you would think that, say, a Robert Kirkman, he kind of like, okay, that fits. And hey, Mr. Johnson here, you think this will be a good fit? I would hope that they ask him, like, do you think this? And if he says, yeah, then I'm in. You know what I mean? Like, if they are giving it the idea of, I trust them. I said to people about the Kelly Thompson with the Scarlet book, there's no reason for me not to trust them. Right now, I like everything that they're doing. And I'm not a huge Joshua Williamson fan. I do like it when he seems inspired. And boy, he seems inspired. It really feels like
I'm enjoying
they
his
found
stuff
him.
On this much more than his DC work.
And I even I like this. I like Superman, but a lot of his stuff gets wonky, and I'm sure people will wonder why we didn't put Batman and Robin on here because I was looking forward to Flatline returning, but it got a little wonky and the art threw me off. But that's just an aside. But again, I think that they're not just like they haven't seen Jorge Corona's art. He's just going to show up and like oh crap, like we should have hired him. I think they did their due diligence, so I'll go with it. But boy. Yeah, I could talk about that Transformers, but it's
book
so
of the week
fun.
For me.
It's so fun. It's my book of the week. It always is. And when we do this and it comes out, and actually it's any of the Energon stuff, like every time, if you go and look at the thumbnails that I usually make for this show or the other anticipated book show, it's always Transformers. They're like, and it probably will be again, I guess, because I like to put, on the thumbnail a big bit of book that we like the most.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but
it has to be Transformers, Jim. It has to be, doesn't it?
It's so good. And this is a good time to tell people too, like there's people, I haven't read it, whatever. Well, now the first arc is it's done. So go and get it, or when the trade comes out, because I think the trade's going to sell like hotcakes. I mean, it really should. So check it out. There's not anybody, because again, I think me and you talked about this before. We're not huge Transformer fans. We're not people who know tons of or the G.I. Joe especially too, and I'm loving all of it. So
that's right. We're comic book fans, and they're doing a great job of telling great comic book stories.
Yeah, it's so good. But I told you that this was going to be the quickest show that we ever had. It's the longest. This is what always happens. I jinxed us.
Blame it on me. It's so weird.
It's so weird too, because now I am Genki. You got me there, and the Transformers did as well. But I'll probably try one hand. I'm going to eat dinner. It's so weird when we talk because usually, and I said this before too, usually it's morning for me and late for you, but it's the opposite.
It is. It's Saturday morning where I am, and I'm going to read Green Lantern after this.
Yeah, and I'm going to try to read the one hand. But again, everybody let us know what you liked, some stuff from the big two, indie, whatnot. Yeah, because there were a lot of books. Some of them not so great, but there's some that I could tell that people will like a little more than I or you did, and they'll put it in there. But that's always cool. And, I don't like to fight about what the best books were. You know what I mean? That there shouldn't be a fight. It should be more of, hey, that's cool. I'll check that out stuff. So I don't know. People like to fight. People are always fighting. But that is that. Thanks for joining me once again, Gray. And I do want to point out, check the show notes to go and check out Gray's channel, the Wakazashi's Tea House. I put that in there. Hopefully people are checking it out. And so with that, we'll see you. And I'll be back with my, most anticipated books and all that stuff and all the regular stuff. So I will talk to you, Gray, later, probably about 12 hours from now. And then I will also talk to everybody else whenever. So I will see you later.
Weird science is the revolution.